into the black hole. Sing for my soul.
Hi guys, and welcome back to another episode of Sunshine on Leyth, the analysis days. So, we're just going to jump straight in, quite frankly. So I recorded the final episode that you would have seen on the Friday, and it's now Monday, doing this before we do some transfer stuff. So I've had a little time to reflect on things, sort of had a look at the way I want to go with things. And, I mean, I think we did well. I had a look at things. We scored a few more goals this season, and we conceded a few less. Not as many less as I would have liked, but better. Still not good, but better. We're on the right track, I think. But I do think, once again, the weaknesses in us are defensively. And inability to finish at times. That seems to be the two good things. Chance creation for us has never been a problem, and it certainly isn't a problem now. It's just about getting things to finish. I still want to persist with Milan Lonchar for next season, because I don't feel like I still think he had a solid year, and I think he can do better for us. But if I do happen to find another Kaio that can play in, or not even another Kaio, but someone of Kaio's quality that can play on there, then maybe we would have to look at that. But I don't think there's time to be doing stuff like that just yet. I think there's better areas of the squad to be investing money, particularly given the amount of money we actually have. So Kaio, great year. 14 in the league, 13 assists. He actually scored less goals in the league this year, but he did provide a few more assists, I believe. Overall, as well, contributing to 50 goals in 59 appearances. 9 and 9 in the Europa League as well. 3 goals in the Cup, 2 assists. He's basically just been a jack of all trades, and to have played 59 matches for us this year is astonishing. So you can see that, yes, he did score 3 less goals this year, but he also played 3 less matches, so there is that. But he did provide 5 more assists. So overall, he had a slightly better impact and had a better season in terms of average rating. So I still think that Kaio is the man and will be for the foreseeable future, to be honest. But, you know, it's just worth noting, at one point I thought he was going to absolutely kill this league. So he did certainly drift away a little bit in the second half of the season. Anyway, let's kick on. Sebastian Chan, his contract's up next summer. And our issues are in right back very, very strong right now. And I think that's an area where I'm very much looking forward to trying to dig into this summer. Because I feel like Sebastian Chan, honestly, could be worth keeping around just because. I know he's listed at the moment. I'm probably going to get rid of him. Probably not going to get rid. I feel like Lord Veldwijk might not have been the guy for us, but we'll see. It could have been because of the injury. He made, maybe we would have done even better if Veldwijk had been able to play, but we will see. Whereas having a player with that kind of consistency and loves big matches could be quite important for us at time to time. So I don't know. We'll see about Sebastian Chan. Will Clifford, his contract's up this summer. I don't think he's ever actually played for us. He's just been out on loan. Oh, he played 2 times for us, just been out on loan. I feel like, yeah, he's probably going to be gone. Dale Connor's contract, interestingly, is actually up next summer. And I do feel like we need to revamp our defence entirely, but I don't feel like Dale Connor, I don't know, it's hard to say. 162 appearances for Dale, like, he scored 5 goals, got 5 assists as well in the Premier League this year. Like, that's impressive for a centre-back, to be fair. I mean, where does he rank compared to previous seasons? He's had a much better year than he did last year. I think that's undeniable, to be honest. 2 more goals, 5 assists as well. In fact, this is actually his probably most productive season in a Whitport shirt. So actually, maybe I've been wrong about Dale Connor, and he's technically making a little bit of improvements now. So actually, still only 23. I think a new contract is definitely worth it for Dale Connor at this point. Raul Costa, he hasn't been able to play a lot, unfortunately, because of the fact that we've had 3 players for one position, and he's been the third choice out of those 3, sadly, which is a shame for the lad, because he is actually clearly a very good player, and maybe a loan spell for him wouldn't go amiss for next year. I'm not really sure, but I think that might be the right idea. Bradley Davidson, of course, his contract's up this summer. He started off really, really well at Ross County, and then he just completely disappeared from them. He did get quite a serious injury, but yeah, so not great for him there. Jerry Ellison, I like Jerry, I do. I feel like I'm looking forward to seeing what the comparison between him and Griggs is when we do a proper comparison today, but I do feel like we kind of have to persist with Jerry going forward, because I feel like long term he's probably a better goalkeeper than Russell Griggs, but I do want to see how they've actually stacked up in terms of stats. Flammarion? Flammarion's a weird one. He really is a very strange one for me, in that I don't feel like he's as productive as perhaps he should be, in all honesty. 5 goals and 6 assists this season. Like, that is a definite backward step. I think it's hard to ignore that. Half the number of goals he scored in the league, and he knocked off a few assists as well. Like, his contributions to league games have really drifted away, and like, that's 32 starts. Like, okay, he didn't start as many games as he did the previous year, but I don't know. And in the Europa Conference League, to be fair, he did rack up 6 goals and 5 assists, but against weaker opposition. I just wonder if Flamarion's just not quite cutting it. I don't think he's a player we can get rid of right now, but if I did find an amazing player that was better than him, and the opportunity came to move Flamarion on for huge money, part of me wonders if it isn't the worst idea in the world. He might just had an off season. It does happen. He's been a bit all over the place this year. At times having really good spells, but for the most part, just sort of struggling a little bit. So we'll see where he goes with that. Particularly when you look at the way Bruzidi, and you'll see what I mean when we get to Bruzidi, his contributions as well in much less matches. Fran, I like Fran. I think Fran's been good this year. A couple of little goals here and there. He's played good in a couple of different positions, quite frankly. I think he's a very versatile player, and I'm very lucky to have him. I just really, really like him, to be fair. I think having him play here or having him play here, there's all sorts of options with Fran, frankly. I mean, the fact that he can actually play there too, maybe, and this is something I've been thinking about, Segunda Volante. Perhaps not on... I mean, what difference does that actually make? Does that even change the... I've just noticed that Segunda Volante on attack... Oh, it just sort of changes the priority on that towards being an issue. So what I would be tempted to do is perhaps even moving to a Segunda Volante for next year in that ball-winning midfield role, because I just don't really feel like we're getting the best out of that role a lot of the time. And I do wonder if Fran as a Segunda Volante might actually be even more effective, but we will see, particularly as he's not the best ball-winning midfielder, because... Actually, I don't even know why. Like, technically, he should be very good. I think it's just that he's better preferred to other things, not that he's bad as a ball-winning midfielder. That's probably the better way of looking at that. Russell Griggs, considered 28 in 21. I would say Ellison does actually look to have a better goalkeeping record so far this season than Russell Griggs, but again, time will tell on that one. Aston Herbert's been out on loan at Kilmarnock. Not really much to say there. Clive Kimberley. Oh, Clive. Literally, since returning to the team, he just has been climbing and climbing and climbing. Came in at 2-star, remember? And he's already back to 3.5. Clive's very good, isn't he? And he seems like he's completely rekindled his quality, having rejoined the club. And I feel sorry for Rui Lashka in that, I do, but Clive has been sensational this year. Still not forgiven him. If he does amazingly next year, then maybe I will forgive him. Unless he complains in the summer and wants to leave again. He's not wanted by anyone, is he? No. Okay. Can you imagine if he left again? Wouldn't be surprised. It's Clive. Right, moving on from him, Rui Lashka himself. I mean, you can see where he fell off a cliff, but then it might just be from lack of game time. I don't know. I feel like there might be an opportunity for us to get someone like a Rui Lashka into the team. The problem is he just lacks the tackling. Maybe he's a regista. I don't know. I'm very unsure about it. I do like my man Rui, though. I mean, maybe we could sell him. I don't know if that's the best idea at all, really. But I don't know. Well, there's going to be a lot of decisions to be made this summer. We're not really in a position to have to sell players. That's for sure, because we've got 100 million in the bank as far as transfer funds go. So we're not in a selling position right now. We are firmly a buying club. So that'll be interesting. Milan Lonchar. I think, well, he started pretty well, and he's just sort of drifted a bit this season. 3 goals in the Europa Conference League, which is surprising, actually, because I didn't realise he'd even played that much. 17 in the Premier League is certainly no surprise. It's not a bad shout when you think about it. Like, that means what? He got the same amount of goals in the Premier League as Kayo did last season. It's his first season in England. I'm all right with that. 6 goals in the FA Cup. 26 goals this season for him. I think that makes him our joint top goal scorer. He's a consistent player. I want to see what he can do next year. I do want to get rid of this shoots from distance thing. And if he can improve his weak foot slightly, not that it really matters so much anymore, because we're moving over to permanently playing him on the right-hand side, because he did seem more effective there. I want to give Milan Lonchar another season for us. I don't think he's a busted flush by any stretch. I would have liked to have seen more of these goals being scored, particularly with the number of chances we created, but I still think there's something more to this guy, and I'm prepared to give him the chance. Marco Marcolini, amazingly, still has 2 years left on his deal, but I think he's kind of a bit of a busted flush. He is a bit just like, nah, not going to happen. Mitala, just when I think this guy is kind of done for us, he has had a really good year. Like, he's very good as a player to score you goals from set pieces. He just seems to be not fantastic when it comes to actually defending a lot of the time. We'll have a look at that when we take a look at the stats a little bit deeper, but I think that's his main issue. He's 7 Premier League goals from a centre-back. Your FPL would want to have Mitala in your team. Let's put it that way. Although, maybe not, though, because of the clean sheets. But got 3 in Europe as well. He's done well. I think it's just this pure height that is basically like a cheat code for him almost, essentially. Dave Morton hasn't played as much this season. Only started 1 Premier League game, came off the bench 12 times, played a bit in Europe, but he did score and get an assist. He's just sort of... he's got 1 more year left in his contract. We'll see how he is. We'll reevaluate Dave next summer and see how he does, because unfortunately it is a case of, like, we do have Balde and Nelson there, and Morton is just not quite cutting it, but he's still got goals this year. Like, the fact that he's still managed to grab a couple of goals for us is always pleasing. And he's got 230 league appearances. I'm fairly certain now he's the highest league appearance holder for the club ever. Simon Nelson, like, he's a weird one. He's always consistently improving, time after time after time. And to be fair, 10 goals in Europe this season. And to be fair, he did only start 2 Premier League matches. So actually, I don't know if I can be that annoyed at him when you look at his actual Premier League record this year. He only started 11 games in total this year and scored 10 goals. I think he's definitely finding something in himself now. His contract's up next summer. I'll give him a new one this summer so we can get him tied down. But I don't know, like, he was very good in Europe this year. He was integral to that. He was our second highest goal scorer. In fact, the second highest goal scorer in the entire tournament behind Wim Billington. And I want to see how he compares to Balde, honestly. But again, it will be a bit difficult because of the opposition they played against. So that could be a factor in that. Ollie Pratt, again, still has more time left on his contract. Probably going to loan him out again this year if I can do. Ben McCartney, of course, still here. His contract is up this summer, but I will be, of course, renewing his contract, hopefully, although he is unhappy. Oh dear. I hope we don't lose BPK. I really do. That's a bit of a problem, actually, because he's 29 years old now. He's been at the club for 13 years, and I really do want to keep him because it's BPK. The man needs to stay. I want this man to have a testimonial one day, and I'm a bit worried that if we let him go, he won't get a testimonial, and that would make me very, very sad. So, Berniat Ramos, he's been on loan at Palace for the second half of the season. He was transfer listed by request, basically. He was complaining about lack of football. I don't really like Ramos. There's a lot of things I've just not liked about him. Palace do have an option to buy for like 20 million. So we'll see if they, if they trigger that or something. Maybe get some money back for Ramos. Seba, he's fine. He's played a few games for us. Nothing special. He was only ever brought in to be like a backup goalkeeper anyway, and he's fulfilling that objective quite fine. Matteo Cerna, it's a shame. He's one of those players that's just never, ever going to get a work permit, but sometimes you just take a punt on them to see if they will. I don't think he will. But we'll keep loaning him out and see what happens, really. He's still got another year left on his deal, so we'll try that one out. Franzi Sullivan, again, he still has another year left on his deal. He scored a goal in Europe, didn't get any in the Premier League this year. He's just starting to... I do wonder if Franz might leave this summer just to free up some space in the pecking order, and also £40,000 a week in wages. I don't know. We'll have to make a decision on Franz. There's definitely some work to be done here. Fraser Thompson, on loan from Liverpool, not coming back next year. I just don't really like... He's been very inconsistent for us in times. Maybe I've just got a bit of a thing on him because of all those red cards he got us in previous seasons, but I just don't trust him as much as I trust other players, and I think we could sign better centre-backs, so I don't think he'll be back. Lloyd Velvike is still going to be out for another 2 to 4 months with those cruciate ligament damages. And it's going to cost him a lot physically. We're going to have to assess the situation with Velvike, but I do think like a right-back is going to be an important position for us to try and sign, but we'll see. Vukuripa, he's a weird one. I feel like he may go this summer because he's barely played this year because I've been trusting Keith Abbott more. And honestly, Abbott's not that far behind him now, and he's a lot younger. So I kind of want to keep trusting Keith Abbott when I can. And even Vertelball, I honestly feel like we need to refresh both fullback positions, to be honest. So we'll see. Luke Watson's been on loan at Barnsley. Again, they have an option to buy of like £6 million at the end of that, so hopefully they'll trigger that as well, although I don't know if they will do given his performances for him, so we'll see about that. We'll have to flip him off somewhere else in the summer. Grant White, he feels like another one of these guys that might be worth moving on a little bit just to free some stuff up a little bit. I know he's better than Wim Billington technically, but I'd still rather have Wim Billington as the backup because I just don't... Grant White just hasn't done it for me. I was really impressed with him briefly, but just not quite. Free transfer though, so if we did get some cash for him, that'd be all profit. Vertelball, I don't know. I just don't know if he's the man for the job. We've got a lot of things. I mean, if you're starting to consider moving to a bigger club, then good luck, mate, because I don't see a bigger club coming in and taking new offers, frankly. I think it's his crossing. That's the thing for me that he's just never really got any better at, despite us having him on cross-training for quite a long time. So that's actually surprising. He really has struggled in that sense, and I do think that the fullbacks and just defenders in general are going to require a massive shake-up. Zulu, on loan from Watford for the second consecutive season. I see no reason to bring him back next year. He's Watford's problem now. Although, to be fair, he did have some very good games for us, particularly in Europe, in fact, except for against Wolfsburg, where he was dreadful. Though he did set up that goal and then got that beltering goal against Norwich, but I just don't think he's the man for the job. We do maybe need to look, particularly if I'm going to move away from a ball-winning midfielder in that role, then even more likely, not an issue. So Keith Abbott, you could see really working good on the physicals. He's improving dramatically, and, playing 13 games from the start this year and 19 substitute appearances will really do that for you. I think he's shown a lot of himself this year. Only 18 years old to be playing in the Premier League. I think Keith Abbott's got a bright future, but he just needs to keep on playing, keep on training. He's got a good personality. There's a lot of things to like about him, and he's really, really improving because he's getting exposed to top quality football at a very early age. His dribbling, I don't think his dribbling is the most important factor. I think his crossing is more important because obviously we're not looking for those overlaps so much anymore, and I'm more interested in them just getting that ball and popping it into the box. But it's still not great that his dribbling's slow, but what we really want to focus on is his speed. I want him to be a little bit quicker, which is what we've obviously got him working on currently. Omar Afkir, another centre-back. Still got more years left on his contract. And again, he might be another one of those players that could leave the club in the summer. We'll have to see. Balde as well. 11 goals in total, 8 assists. But he's played a lot more games than Simon Nelson. And I just don't know if he's been as convincing as I would have liked. It's another one of those Flammarion situations where I feel like the backups have been overperforming compared to their starting players. Wim Billington as well, 12 goals in 10 in the Europa League, not bad. 2 goals in the FA Cup as well. You'd love to see it from our Winnie Bills. I love that he wants to move to a bigger club. It's like, Win, where exactly are you going to go, son? Plus, he's nearly up to 100 goals for us in all competitions, which is nice. Bruzidi as well. Look at this. 11 assists in all competitions this season. 6 in the Premier League, despite only starting 6 matches, and 5 in Europe as well. I want to see how that compares, because he's been very, very good this year in places, despite not starting as much, or anywhere near as much as Flammarion. Certainly worth noting out, and we're back to Kaio. Right, let's go look at the league stats. I still find it amazing that Blackhaven managed to stay up this year. So one thing you'll notice immediately is our possession statistic, again, looks better than it has in previous seasons, which is good. Penalties taken. Oh, dear. We've only scored 1 of our 4 penalties this season. That's horrendous. Like, to have a 25% conversion rate from penalties is shocking. It's also kind of weird, actually, how few we've won this year. When you look at the likes of the top teams winning 7, 10, whereas we don't. And we're usually pretty good on the dribble. Unless we've fallen down that will be a good way of knowing, really. Headers won, not too bad. Headers won ratio, the highest in the league. That is a really good sign. Yellow cards, also, not the highest in the league. Fulham somehow got 10 reds this season. That's a lot of reds. We still managed to get 4, though, which is not quite so good. Goals, though, 67. Pretty damn solid. Just sneaking into that top 4 spot. That's where I want to be. I want to be doing 70, close to, 70-odd goals next season. That's what we've got to be looking for. Cross completion, very, very good. Crosses completed, right up there too. Goals from corners, 16. That's superb. We've really been good from corners this year. Bear in mind, by the way, I want to talk about this. Where is it? Oh, they finally parked up. For a while, this was saying unsatisfied on make the most of set pieces, despite us having like 10 corner goals already. It was very, very bizarre. Although it was devastated, the board were, that we weren't scoring more. And I'm like, what do you expect from us exactly? But there you go. That seems to have evened itself out now. Direct free kicks, none, sadly, this season. Not the best. Indirect free kicks, okay. 5, not the best. But also not the worst either, so I'll take that. Pass completion, even this isn't the worst. Remember, this used to be like, we'd have been like 73 or something. Passes completed, still fairly low on that one, but not the worst. Chances created. We created 55 more chances than anybody else in the league. How the hell did we somehow not score as many? That just doesn't make sense to me. Just wow. It makes you think that if we do find a striker that can actually score goals on a consistent basis, like take those chances, we could walk this league, but we just can't seem to find the player. And I feel like Milan Lonchar is that guy, but I'm not sure what he's missing, to be honest. It doesn't feel like he is missing anything. Maybe there's a personality trait, a PPM or something. I don't know. Answers on a postcard and all that. Shots on target, 332. Conversion rate, ironically, Blackhaven's conversion rate's very good. I assume they're just not shooting. Yeah, they are just not taking many shots at all, are they? That's their problem. That feels like an Eddie Howe issue. So dribbles per game. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, you'd feel like we should be winning more penalties still, in all honesty. So, yeah, that's a strange one for me. Just one of those weird ones, I guess. And not that we would have scored them anyway, of course, you understand. So, we were nearly 8th best defence in the league. Very, very close. But we need to be more towards the 40 goals conceded mark next season. That seems to be where we need to look for. And honestly, when you look at the fact that 9 of those goals came against City alone, that should be a good indicator. And 7 of those were in one game. So if we literally, say we just lose 1-0 to City in that opening fixture instead of that, we immediately find ourselves right up here. So I don't think it's as bad as perhaps it looks. Conceded from corners, none is insanely impressive. And this is not so much. Direct free kicks, that'll be right us down the bottom. Somehow we let in 3. Bournemouth let in even more. Obviously, it'll be at the very bottom of this with no way. Well, hello. Watford actually worse than us. Imagine that. Clean sheets, though, 16. Not bad. Fouls made. Not the worst. Good stuff. Tackles 1. We're a bit iffy on that one. At least the ratio's fairly solid. Leeds getting nicely in there, too. Penalties conceded. 4 isn't the end of the world. Palace have been shocking from those. To be fair, average attendances, ours is still right down there, but not that far behind Blackhaven, to be fair. And I wonder if the board will let us extend the stadium again, because we're still basically selling out. In fact, yeah, we've sold out every single home game. So in theory, you think the board would probably let us. Should we try that right now, in fact? We'll just get through this. Anything interesting? Net spend. Brighton spent £90 million this summer. Blackhaven spent £43 million. And, well, I mean, Brighton are rich as well, which is kind of cool. So we've spent a decent amount of money too, to be fair, whereas some of the others have actually raked in stuff. And you'll see, salary per annum, Blackhaven have the 6th highest wage bill in the Premier League now. Now, don't get me wrong, they're not like a top 5 challenging wage bill. but they're very much should be challenging for European spots. Like Norwich are down there, and yet they're well up there in the league. They came 8th, Watford as well, and Wolves, all these teams, and yet Blackhaven 16th. Shocking. And we still down here. We just can't catch up at the moment. Right, let's just see if we can have a new stadium. Nope, not even. Nothing. Remember, we've maxed out the expansion capacity for the current stadium. That might have already happened, to be fair. We did do a lot of upgrades to it very, very quickly. Right. So, down went Fulham, West Brom, and Bournemouth this summer. So keep an eye on those guys. I suppose that's kind of the key thing for us here to pay attention to. Red cards. I'm amazed that more than... Well, actually, to be fair, yeah. 2 different Fulham players got 2 red cards, but I'm amazed none of them got even more than that, in fairness. So, Ernie McKinnon as well. He feels like the only player that's keeping back £200,000 a week. Jesus. I mean, he's a Scottish international, but he's not that good, is he? Seems Blackhaven are blowing a lot of their money now. It's weird. They seem to be doing that thing that teams often do when you give them loads of money in the lower league, but now they're doing it in the higher league without really signing quality footballers. It's interesting the situation they've put themselves in. They seem to be wasting their budget rather than, like, spending it sensibly, but I guess there's only a limit to what you can do on that one. Maybury, certainly for me, is well up there. Gorman. We've looked at Gorman a few times now, haven't we? But he's just not really in the right position. Oh, no, we haven't looked at him because he was at Blackhaven, and I would never. You wouldn't catch me dead looking at him. Betancourt, the Frenchman, is an inverted winger. God damn. Anyone else on here that's kind of covered a lot of ground? A few Blackhaven players, to be fair, have done all right. Average rating overall, Latorre up there for sure. Clive Kimberley as well, sneaking around. I feel like full season of Clive, and perhaps there's something there for him, to be fair. Goals, Haaland with his 20 goals. Larinaga with 17, but Lonshaw, 17 as well. Ain't bad. Jay Hassan of Wolves has been sensational as well. Kayo in there. Helenio. Who's he wanted by? I just don't know if he's really what we need, but the man has definitely done okay considering the position he's... Then again, injury prone. I don't know. Very low jumping reach considering he's 5'10". And I don't think he's better than what we currently have, which is the kind of the thing I'm looking for here, really. To be perfectly honest on that one. So, minutes per goal, Måns Danielsson of Man United is for sure well up there. Kang Tae-ho has done a very good job for Watford despite not starting every game. I nearly signed this guy a couple of summers ago, but he went to Watford instead. Would have been like £2 million as well, which makes me really, really sad. But that's just how it goes. Anyone else on here? Helenio again. Not really. He seems to be the one standout of the relegated sides, it would seem. Shots on target. Milan Lonchar had 78 shots on target this season, and yet just couldn't. I mean, that should tell you all you need to know. The man had the most shots on target in the league. That's interesting, though, because it means he's getting the shots on target. They're just being saved. It's nuts. Shots on target percentage as well, 64%. That's very, very good. Like, he seems to have all the perfect attributes and even getting the right numbers as far as shots on target and the percentage of them that you'd want out of our strikers, like when we had Neil Crossall win Billington. Maybe it literally just is because he doesn't speak English and he's just... But then, what would that affect his shot? I don't know. Maybe he just needed a season to settle in. I'm hoping in next year he can hit the ground running because all the right noises are being made. I think it's just his conversion. It's just been shocking, sadly. It's as simple as that. Assists for Kayo, number 1 in the league, of course. My man. Anyone from the relegated sides in here at all? It seems unlikely. Key passes, though. Clive Kimberley. Interesting. Dantas as well. Very good for Blackhaven. Just, I don't know what it is with them. I think it's just that shape that Eddie Howe plays. Florent Amini, a 21-year-old from Fulham. And he's English, too, with a name like Amini. Okay. I am intrigued by Amini. Not because I want to sign him specifically, but I'm just... Oh, no, I don't add him as a transfer target. I'm just interested in the lad, you know? Just interested. What else we got? Chances created. Okay, Kayo and Flamario. Oh, okay. That's better. Flamarion's showing me something there, I suppose. That's one thing in the good column for Flamarion. I do want to make sure I get, like, a good sense of where he's actually sending it. Inaki Santos as well for Fulham has very high pass completion. Ball in midfielder. I just don't think he's as good as he appears to be. It's just, it's really hard to find players at this point. We're really kind of struggling. Lamine Camara is a god, but he's also worth like £100 million, and Norwich are a really decent side at the moment. You can see why this guy would be so good, but I just don't think that we could... I mean, look at the dribbling, the crossing, bloody hell, what a player Lamine Camara is. I just think that would be a bit out of our price range. But if we were to sell Lamar, I don't know. You got me thinking about it now. I just think that's too much for us, and I don't think that's really where we need to be investing money. Going to get another scout report on him anyway, though, out of pure curiosity. God, Ernie McKinnon was offside a lot, wasn't he? Christ. Let's see, defensively. Lee Weaver of Bournemouth with a Jesus Christ, a lot of tackles per game. Left back? Screw it. We'll get a little scout report on you. I don't imagine we're going to see much. Tristan Mertens as well at Fulham. We'll just have a little look at him too. I know that obviously they'll have been on the other end of a lot of this because they are playing for the worst teams. But then again, you do see players from the larger clubs also on this list. So Luis Pereira here, West Brom as well. It all seems to be left backs here. But maybe there is one of these in here that actually might be legitimately really good for all we know. Carl Holmes, a right back, but 24, like, just, I don't know. We'll get a scout report on him anyway, but I'm not overly convinced by him by any opportunity. Wellington as well of Fulham here. Oh, he's 30, no chance. No, I don't really signing a 30-year-old from Fulham. It would cost us too much money. Fran on there too, though, which is nice to see. And also, Kamara. My man's been tracking back. Look, he's Kamstra as well. There's just so much. I think that the value is probably not to be found in a lot of these. Like, most of the time, unless the club has been relegated and they've got a good relegation release clause, there's not going to be a lot of value in Premier League players. So Matala, not on here, which is nice. Hopefully he's not going to be listed on this one either. No. Good sign. Ryan Messenger, good God. Calm down, my friend. Key tackles. Interesting. Lee Weather again. We've presumably... I was hoping to see Fran on there, but sadly not. Orlando's the guy from Fulham that I'm really interested in. Although... Actually, he's 5'10", doesn't have the jumping reach either. And maybe that's not really the best kind of player for what we currently do. Key headers, though. Motherland Matala, 128. The guy can definitely win a header. And presumably has got some decent number of interceptions as well. No, interesting. What about Alexandre of Bournemouth? Centre-back, 6 foot. I would just want him to be slightly taller. Or at least, or be better, particularly at 25. That's the thing. You needed to be seriously good. Henry Vink of West Brom? No. Like, I don't... If they had amazing technicals for a defender, the height thing wouldn't matter quite as much to me because I wouldn't mind having one that's just a really tall lad and one that's just fantastic in the technical attribute. God, Paddy Power looks so good, doesn't he? I mean, to be fair, it's more about his height. He's technically quite decent as well, apart from his heading, ironically, despite being really, really tall. I do keep looking at Paddy Power, but again, at Everton, it's going to be a bit of a nightmare trying to get one of those types of players. Goalkeeping, conceded. Russell Griggs, 28. But then, 10 clean sheets for Russell Griggs, 6 for Jerry Ellison. Interesting. Conceded per 90 minutes, we can see. Russell Griggs does concede more goals. So far, we'll see. And saves parried, that's showing less for... Yeah, that would make a lot of sense. And Russell Griggs did save a penalty this year. Right, let's have a look at the actual comparisons. Start with goalkeepers. It's not very often we crack out the goalkeeper analysis one. Now, admittedly, there's not a huge amount of useful data you can get for goalkeepers, but we'll make do. So, I think the key thing is they've played almost the same amount of matches. Griggsy's got a higher average rating, but you can make of that what you will. Ellison also 2 years younger, so it's worth in mind being the youngest keeper as well. So 12 clean sheets for Jerry Ellison in 29 and 15 for Russell Griggs in 30. That's decent. But on average, we do concede less goals with Jerry Ellison in the team and have a slightly higher PPG. His pass completion is also slightly higher. I feel like now is about the right time for the crossover period where Russell Griggs can hand the gloves to Jerry Ellison now because he's come in and he has done arguably a marginally better job. Definitely on the goals conceded side of thing. We've gone from conceding just over 1 to just under 1. And over the course of a season, that does kind of add up. So, but then, obviously, remember, Russell Griggs was in goal for the 7 goals that we conceded. In fact, the fact that Seba actually has a better record than him as well, but lacks the points per game situation, is quite telling as well. So I do think that Jerry Ellison, going forward, but he does need to sort himself out a little bit. But I honestly just think that sometimes with FM and goalkeepers, particularly this year, you can't really even think about things too much. Like some of the goals they'll concede, you'll look at them and go, why are you doing that? And unfortunately, it's just goalkeepers do make mistakes sometimes, but you'd like to think that some of the attributes would at least prevent them from making them so often. I don't know. Maybe he's just had a bit of a poor piece of luck in places. We'll see. Obviously, if he has another horrendous season, we may have to take a look at it, but I think he's been okay. Certainly far from horrendous. An average of less than 1 per game. The way that I look at that is, every 10 games we'll concede 9 goals. So really, we'd be looking at sort of mid-30s kind of goals conceded next season if we had a similar goals conceded record to that, which would be a massive step up from where we are. And actually, that's okay. I'm okay with that. PPG's very solid as well. So that's the goalkeeper situation. Let's go look at centre-backs. Now, really, it's between Fran, Fraser Thompson, Matala, essentially. Those are kind of the real ones. Not Fran, sorry. Dale Connor, Fraser Thompson, Matala. Fran mostly played further up the pitch, so we can kind of ignore what he's done, but I do think that he's an interesting option there too. Now, the amount of appearances for Dale Connor as well, 52 overall, is quite ridiculous. So key thing for me, conceded. Mitala, ironically, has the best. Is this where he just comes out looking like an absolute god? Like, we've conceded less goals with Muddle and Mitala in the team than we do with Dale Connor, or particularly Fraser Thompson. He's the worst of the bunch. Interesting indeed. Interceptions, though, Mitala beats Connor. Not as good as Fraser Thompson, though, so worth knowing. Mistakes into goals. He didn't make any this season, which is nice. Tackles won, definitely lower. That stands to reason. He's got worse technicals. But he has actually won more tackles per 90 minutes than Dale Connor, interestingly. Pass completions, around about the same. Key passes, actually higher than Dale Connor. Not as high as Fraser Thompson, to be fair. And obviously, as you can see, Fran, way higher. But then he'd have been playing further forward. Headers won is better than Dale Connor because he's much taller. And ironically worse than Fraser Thompson. But then Thompson's playing against worse people, possibly. Same amount of headers won per game, really. Dribbles, a little bit more than Fraser Thompson. Not quite as good there. Crossing, not to be expected. Dale Connor has done very, very weirdly well with assists this year to have 7 in all competitions. It's actually kind of crazy. Chance creation, though, roughly the same. We don't score quite as many goals with Mitala in the team, ironically, although he himself does. In fact, he's got a double. His goal scoring is double what Dale Connor's is. PPG is, though, slightly worse. And he does definitely hit more shots on target per game. Maybe I've overreacted on Mitala, but I do still wonder if we're going to, I think next season, really, Fraser Thompson's not going to be here. So we're either going to be starting with a Dale Connor, Madeline Mitala lineup, and I don't know if that's enough. I think I would quite like to go out and try to find a big 4-star centre-back to go along with them. I like what I'm seeing, but I don't think I'm seeing it quick enough. I think Mitala, I haven't seen enough development out of him. I don't know how much he's really improved over last year. He's definitely been better in front of goal. That's one thing that's definitely helping his odds in this team. But I still think we've got this cash, and defensively, if we lose Fraser Thompson, we're going to really start to be a bit lacking in players there anyway. So if we can find an amazing centre-back for not a huge amount of money, or rather, even if he is a huge amount of money, then I might look to do exactly that, to be honest. I think the centre-back might be a good piece of business for us at this point, particularly as that's an area we really do want to strengthen at this point. So left side is Verteball, Vukaripa and Abba. This is intriguing. When you look at minutes played, obviously we'll ignore Will Clifford. Let's just ignore players not at club. That gets rid of a few of these guys at least. Abbott's played more matches than Vukaripa, which is interesting. About that, they cover the same amount of distance. We actually have the best defensive record with Keith Abbott in the team. Very noticeable. He's not as good as far as interceptions go as Sam Verteball. Tackle's not far behind. And again, not far behind. He's outdoing Vukaripa on both of these. Pass completion. His key passes is the best. Headers is about the same as Vukaripa. He lacks the height, I believe, that someone like Verteball has. Yeah, I mean, that's very evident there. Can't dribble as much. That much we completely understand. He's only got 5 dribbling. Don't expect him to be dribbling as much as that. Cross completion, though, 32%. 32. Vukaripa's actually even higher, in fairness. So that's definitely worth noting. But he does have 11 crossing compared to Verteball's 9. And he's 8 years his junior. Chance creation, relatively similar. We score more goals with Abbott in the team, and his PPG is very, very high. As, though, is Vukaripa. It's interesting. It's very interesting. But the key thing I'm noticing here is that I like Keith Abbott, and you know I do. And I'm seeing a lot of things here that makes me go, yes, this guy's definitely going to be successful for us one day. To have that high of a team, like the things that matter the most to me, really, as far as the team goes, is that we score more goals on his in the team, we concede less, and we win more points. And that is there, clear as day. Cross completion of 32% is also astonishingly good. And I can't distress the fact that Vukaripa's being even higher is also incredibly good. So the key thing is, though, the fact that their cross completion at that side of that high is actually still very, very good indeed. I just don't know about Sam Verteball anymore. I don't want Keith Abbott to be starting for us next season. That is not in his wheelhouse. I feel like he's maybe at least a season away from that yet. But I do wonder if... I feel like the right side is more of an issue for us than the left is. We've definitely got better players in this left side who are coming through or have got a proven track record of success. So if we've got a choice between a right back and a left back, I will choose the right back probably. But it does make you wonder if maybe we could find some right backs are so, well, to be fair, fullbacks in general are so hard to come by. Good ones on FM20, I've found. Really good ones, particularly ones that play like wing backs. They're just not that oftenly found. So to find another one, I think would be quite a hard task. But we're going to have to maybe give it a go anyway, because I think it's quite important for us to do. Let's check the right side. So it's basically Veldwijk versus Chan. I want to see... So you can see that actually we've been better defensively when Veldwijk came out, interestingly. but we did score more goals with him in, so it kind of balances itself out to some extent. Actually, no, it doesn't. It actually kind of still leads more towards Sebastian Chan in a way. Interceptions, though, worse. Tackles, wins a few more. Key passes is slightly higher. Worse in the air, no surprises there, but decent cross completion of 36. That's very good. 29, though, from my man starting is pretty solid as well. Assists, though, kind of really struggled there. Then again, that wasn't really his game plan, was it, when you actually look at him? Again, crossing, he reminds me so much of Vertebor. At least the man can dribble, but I really should have gone with someone with better crossing, and I do wonder if Veldwijk was just a bit of a mistake signing. I don't know. It could just be that I'm clouding my judgment because he's still going to be out for another 2 to 4 months. So, yeah. Wow, has he really only been out for a month and a half? Like 2 months? Feels like more than that for some reason. I thought that he'd been out since like Christmas, but there you go. It's a tough one. It really kind of is a tough one. I do feel like, though, we still haven't found our perfect fullbacks on either side, to be honest. I know when you found them. I feel like Greg Campbell, when I found him with Notts County, that's how I knew. I was like, that's the guy. And I don't feel like we found the guy on either of the sides on our defensive setup yet. Like, they're fine, but I feel like they could be better, to be honest. But Keith Abbott definitely does give me some hope for the future, particularly from a defensive standpoint, with a 0.77 goals conceded. But then maybe it's because he hasn't played enough games, may have played against weaker opposition. You just don't know. But then you don't know really with anybody. So maybe first choices for these roles. But I think the right-hand side is more of a pressing importance because of the fact that, Chan is unreliable and getting older and not getting any better. And Veldwijk, serious injury, don't really know. I think right-hand side is very much the key for us if we have to sign someone. Right, defensive midfielders. So there's quite a few to look at. Fran has played a lot. I just love Fran so much. PPG, very, very high indeed. Always nice to see. Team goals scored is solid, but let's actually have a look at this a little bit deeper. Team conceded per 90 minutes. Fran, very, very low. Fran and Clive Kimberley, very good partnership. Lashka, somewhat higher. The fact that Clive Kimberley's come in and given us this as well is very encouraging, to be honest. I realise that, he's just got... look at good determination, good personalities on all these guys, which really does help. Raul Costa's definitely the worst of the bunch as far as goals conceded, it would seem. Interceptions... Fran again, because that's the role he plays. Zulu quite low, surprisingly, actually. Fran at 89% tackles one, but to be fair, 93, pretty damn good. And Kimberley's throwing himself about a bit in that role as well. So I can't really argue with that. 78% pass completion is quite low, actually, for Clive Kimberley. But when you look, this is the key thing for me. Costa maybe hasn't played as many matches, and I think that would be lower if he had. But Kimberley at 3.47 is outdoing Rui Lashka. He just is, sadly. He's just better in that role. He just does what he does. Now, assists per 90 minutes is identical, and chance creation is slightly higher for Clive Kimberley. And he does have a little bit better goal scoring record himself, because he does shoot more, and when he does shoot, he is more on target. The Clive Kimberley Rui Lashka thing is a bizarre one. I feel like we've got a really good setup. Clive Kimberley, I feel like, has earned his starting spot back again, as much as it pains me to say it. And Lashka is an incredibly good understudy who's just not quite at Clive Kimberley's level. And Costa is sort of just there too. Still a good player, but has a lot to learn. But that kind of makes sense in terms of their ages as well. Kimberley, the senior pro, Rui Lashka, the slightly younger understudy, and then Raul Costa just slightly underneath him. So it's not the end of the world. Who's Fran wanted by? Sevilla. Nope. As for the other side, though, that's where things get a bit kind of interesting. I do wonder if changing that roll up would firstly either allow us to bring someone like Lashka in as well as Kimberley, or allow Fran to be even more potent. It's really hard to say. I don't know. I'd be interested to know what your thoughts would be. If we were to change that role on the right-hand side of our defence, our DMs, from being a ball-winning midfielder to a slightly more expansive, would you maybe think we should go Segundo Volante or to a Regista? But I don't know if I want a Regista and a DLP. I feel that kind of confuses things a bit. But maybe the Segundo Volante is the way to go. I have used them once in the past, if I recall. I think that was with Stockport, or it might have even been B67. No, I think it was Stockport I used the Segundo Volante system at one point. So that's something I might consider trying, or at least make a version of the tactic that has that and sort of see how we look in a friendly. Maybe watch some friendlies just to sort of see where that could lead us. As far as like midfield goes, though, from a creative perspective, we are set. Like, there's no need to sign another creative midfielder right now with Kimberley, Costa, and Lashka all here. No one we get that isn't going to cost us 50 million is going to be better than Clive Kimberley as it is. I can't believe that. Why does he play so well, specifically for us? But fair play to the guy. I think the other position could be up for grabs, but I don't know. I feel like Fran is still the guy I want there, but maybe later down the line I could move Fran a bit deeper and have someone else there because Fran is such a good player just in general. He's like Dendoncker. He reminds me a bit of Dendoncker. So, yeah, that's the midfield. I'm actually really happy with those. On the left side now, Nelson, Balde, and Dave Morton. You can see that, like, I mean, something that's really quite noticeable is the fact that Balde and Nelson, I mean, this is going to look quite bad for Balde, is all I can really say. Nelson's stats are very, very good, although playing against worse teams perhaps is the issue. Defensively, both about the same. Dave Morton, much, much worse. We kind of already knew that, but it does seem to be more stark this year. Interceptions, he's definitely okay on that one, so I guess that's not the end of the world. Pass completion, roughly the same. Key passes per 90 minutes, Simon Nelson, vastly higher. Headers won, better, wins more headers, dribbles way more. Cross completion is, look at the difference there. Dave Morton at 6%, that is shocking. That really is noticeably bad, whereas Balde and Nelson, right where I want them. More assists per 90 minutes. Not as many chances created. So Balde's creating the opportunities that are just not being taken. But we do score more with Simon Nelson in the team, but it's the European stuff, and it's hard to say. It certainly shows me that perhaps Simon Nelson has not played as much as he should have done this season. I think that maybe is what it is to me. The fact that he's done that despite only starting 11 games compared to 51, like that's the thing. Even though there was a lot of European stuff in there, like, wow. It does make you think that Nelson deserves more game time next season. I feel like instead of having it be like 3,600 to 1,600, they should be more like sort of 2,500 each as far as game time goes. And I feel like Simon Nelson has earned the right to play more. Considering I was slowly starting to sort of, not phase him out, but think that he perhaps wasn't good enough, I think he's sort of stepped up this season in many ways, particularly in Europe, and I know that some of the European stuff is definitely going to be swaying this, so I've got to be careful with that, but I do still think he deserves more game time based around that. But then, obviously, at the same time, we're going to come to the strikers in a minute and look at when Billington's won and be like, why isn't he starting in the Premier League? But then, I don't know, it's a tough one. I feel like Simon Nelson has more of a future than when Billington is a consistent starter for us, but we do still need to be careful with that. I think that's the best way to look at it. Not in any hurry, though, to replace people on that left side, really. I think we're really looking quite good there, unless something amazing comes along. Someone. So let's check the right. Where things do start to get a little bit more interesting is Flamaran and Bouzidi. Again, I think it's going to be a very similar story with these two. We are worse defensively with Bouzidi in the team, though. That's for sure. He does tackle a little bit more, though. Key pass is slightly better. Worse in the air. Doesn't win any headers, basically. Does dribble slightly more. Crossings around about the same. Assists per 90 minutes is vastly higher. And he does technically create a few more chances per 90 minutes, too. But we score less, and his PPG is actually overall lower. I mean, once again, I feel like what it's showing me quite simply is that we've got a very good backup in Mohamed Bouzidi, whereas I still feel like Flamaran could be the man. Bouzidi definitely knows how to generate some bloody good stuff off the bench. Like, he only started 13 games this year, and it was even more swayed towards Flamaran, and yet he only got one less assist than Flamaran this year. Now, I feel like Flammers has had a slightly off year as well, which definitely hasn't helped him, but it shows that Bouzidi is a good player. I just don't know. It's really difficult to know where to focus our funds. I feel like defensively is where we need to focus our funds, but also making sure we finish our chances. But I just don't know. I mean, sometimes they do fall to the wingers, and to be fair, Flamaran's done all right with that. 12 goals. That's where he really has excelled. 12 goals this season compared to Bouzidi's 1, and that is a huge amount of... It's a big factor. Like, 24 goals contributed to 12. It's double the amount. Now, to be fair, he did play more than double the number of games, so who knows? But I think Bouzidi's certainly not going to score us a ton of goals, whereas Flamaran definitely does have on his day the ability to do exactly that. Now, let's check out the strikers. The last little bastion of this team, the strikers. So Kayo and Lonchar played the most. Grant White's barely, but we can kind of ignore White, Sullivan, and Pratt. It's really just to see how well Billington has done this season. Started 14 games. Let me just extend this a tiny bit. 22 off the bench. Lonchar started 50 times. So we will see. Defensively, Lonchar and Billington sort of neck and neck on that one as far as it goes. Lonchar definitely likes a bit more of a tackle and wins more of them. Pass completion, slightly lower. Key passes, though, slightly higher than Billington. So that's an okay sign. Better in the air than Billington. Certainly better in the air as far as headers won. Dribbles is around about the same, but Billington is still slightly higher, and he can cross better too, to be fair. Billington has a better assist record, and he does create more chances. To be fair to him, he does create more chances. The team definitely scores more with Billington in the team, but then Billington has only started in Europe. So there is definitely that to be considered. And he himself does score more goals. Hits the target about the same amount as well. And he has less shots per 90 minutes too. So their PPGs are roughly the same. It's very interesting to me how, though, they could both hit the target in almost an identical amount, and yet somehow Lonchar doesn't score them, and yet Billington has. Okay, worse goalkeeper's probably a factor there, but I definitely want to give Lonchar another chance next season to show me what he's made of. Playing a full season on his correct foot in that position, if we can shed his shooting from long range trait. I know he's got 13 long shots, but he's a striker, and I'd rather him... Then again, as we've seen, sometimes long shots can be more effective than a standard one-on-one, so you never really know on that one. Kayo, of course, will keep his place. He's a god. The man is an absolute don. Probably the best player at the club, and has been for the past 2 seasons, really. I think, long time going forward, I want to give Lonchar another chance next season as a striker alongside Kayo, but I may still look for other players in the summer and start the scouting just in case we can't and he doesn't perform in the way that we'd like him to. Might even, if he really does struggle there next year, I will bring William Billington back into the Premier League as well. But I might give William Billington his chance in the Europa League to be our European striker again for a second consecutive season. It's really hard to know where to invest this money. I feel like defence is kind of the key thing, but also it worries me that we haven't scored as many opportunities as I would have liked compared to the other teams in our league. And I know that's been kind of a problem throughout this save for some reason. But I feel like it's more stark right now, and that's something we definitely do need to work on to a certain extent. So I think that's my thoughts on it, really. Do obviously let me know what you think, but obviously I will have already done a lot of that stuff by now. So, the word of the day is going to be Aquavale, because that's what I've got written on a bottle of water that sits on my desk right now as I'm doing this, because, 47 minutes of talking straight. It requires quite a lot of water. It's like streaming this. Anyway, if you've enjoyed this, drop a like. That'd be lovely. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. That'd be sick as well. And I will see you guys tomorrow with some transfer goodies. We'll see how this is going to go. Anyway, hold your gun. Capybara. Bye-bye.